Like you, Ken, I also hunt public, and I carry a decoy with me. I've gone away from carrying my full strut decoy, and
Mm,
that's because a few years back I had an experience while I was hunting, where I called this big tom in across a valley, and he was coming right in. Whenever he crested the hill and saw my full strut decoy, he just completely let down his fan and he turned around and sprinted out of there,
mm,
took off. And ever since then, I've been a little hesitant to use it. So last year, I went to a Jake decoy with a blue head, and I mean the turkey that I was able to take last year came kind of a soft, I don't want to say a jog into it, right?
sure.
So I'm going to use that Jake decoy again. I'm just curious what your experience has been with decoys in the past.
Yeah, fortunately for me is I had heard that exact thing from other hunters, I think on podcasts about the risk of putting a, full strut, big old dominant tom out is that it's creating a filtering effect essentially. When you have a flock of birds there, each one of those birds has a different spot in the pecking order. They have a different personality even. They have different past experiences. Maybe a couple of those birds are really aggressive, but they've already had the snot kicked out of them a couple times this spring, and they're nursing some injuries. And we don't really know what the whole story is. But when you put that big dominant tom out there in the field, you're filtering it down to say, okay, the only bird I want out of this flock is not even just the most dominant bird, but the bird that's the most dominant and willing to approach another dominant bird that's coming into his territory. And that just might not exist. You know what I mean? Like last year when I killed my bird, it was the second to the last day of the season, and it was a string of jakes on public land. I was like, Psh, I'll take a jake. And if I had put a dominant tom out there, I just do not think those those jakes would have come into that spread. You know what I mean? So thankfully, I had already been warned of that potential problem, and so I think my spread has one or two jakes, and then I think three hens, and it's just like a small enough group where there's maybe a little bit of that enticement there, like, okay, yeah, these hens they have this Jake's attention, so it's worth going and checking out. And it doesn't scare off any subservient birds or submissive birds, whatever the right term is there. Um, Not subservient, subordinate birds. It doesn't scare any of them off. And it allows for the maximum, you know I guess opportunity off of any group or any bird that's going to come in most likely. I imagine birds can still spook even by seeing a jake there, or maybe they don't think the decoy is like good enough to not spook them in general, like they sense something's up or whatever. But I've found that spread works pretty well. I've had it work a couple times really, really well. And yeah, I think that you can have luck with a dominant bird, and that I would imagine probably your best chance for that is going to be as early as you can hunt when birds are fresh, and they they haven't been doing a ton of fighting yet. Although let's be honest, I've been seeing toms in full struts since mid-March. So even
Yeah.
though our hunting season starts in the first week of April, these birds have been doing breeding stuff, you know, establishing pecking orders and all that for a month at this point. So these birds have some history behind them, and I just think that you're spot on when you throw that dominant decoy out there, you're just really limiting what you're going to get.